You know that feeling when everything in your life just clicks? When you wake up every morning and think, this is it. This is what happiness feels like. That's exactly where I was 6 months ago. My name is Ryan. I'm 28 years old, and I thought I had found the one. Her name was Jessica, and she was everything I'd ever wanted in a partner. Beautiful, smart, funny, caring, or at least that's what I believed. We met at a coffee shop 2 years ago. I know, it sounds like something out of a romantic movie, but that's genuinely how it happened. I was working on my laptop, stressed out over a presentation for work, and she accidentally bumped into my table, spilling her latte all over my notes. She was so apologetic, so genuine in her embarrassment, that I couldn't help but laugh it off. We started talking, and before I knew it, 3 hours had passed. That's how easy it was with Jessica. Time just disappeared when we were together. Our relationship grew naturally. We took things slow at first, getting to know each other, sharing our dreams and fears. She told me about her difficult childhood, how her parents divorced when she was young, how she'd learned to be independent from an early age. I admired her strength. I opened up about my own struggles, about losing my father when I was in college, about the pressure I felt to succeed in my career. She understood me in ways no one else ever had. After 6 months of dating, she moved into my apartment. It made sense, really. She was spending most nights there anyway, and her lease was up. Plus, splitting rent in the city was practical. My friends were happy for me. My mom loved her. Everyone kept saying things like, "You two are perfect together," and "When are you going to propose?" I just smile and say soon, when the time is right. I was saving up for a ring. A beautiful diamond ring from a jeweler downtown that Jessica had pointed out once when we were window shopping. She didn't know I'd gone back 3 times to talk to the jeweler, to set up a payment plan, to make sure everything would be perfect. I had this whole proposal planned out. I was going to take her back to that same coffee shop where we met, get down on one knee right at the table where we first talked. Cheesy? Maybe. But it was our story, and I wanted to honor it. Life was good. Really good. We had our routines. I'd wake up early, make us both coffee, and we'd sit on the balcony together before work, talking about our plans for the day. She worked as a marketing coordinator for a tech startup downtown. Long hours, she always said, but she loved it. The company was growing fast, and she was excited about the opportunities. I worked in finance, more traditional 9 to 5 hours, which meant I was usually home first. That's when I started noticing the little things. Small things, really. Things that didn't seem important at the time, but looking back now, they were the cracks in the perfect picture I'd painted for myself. Jessica started coming home later and later. Big project, she'd say. The team is really pushing to meet this deadline. I understood. I'd been there before, grinding late nights at the office. So I'd save dinner for her, heat up when she got home around 9 or 10 at night. Then the phone call started. She'd get calls at weird hours and step out onto the balcony to take them. When I asked who it was, she'd say, "Just work stuff." You know how it is. And I didn't know, or I thought I did. Her phone was always face down on the table now. She'd change her passcode too. I noticed one day when I tried to use her phone to play music because mine was charging in the bedroom. The 4-digit code I knew didn't work anymore. When I asked her about it, she laughed it off. Oh, I had to change it for work. New security protocols or something. Then there were the weekends. We used to spend every Saturday together. It was our day. Brunch, maybe a hike, or just lazy hours on the couch watching movies. But lately, she had more and more work obligations. Saturday morning meetings, team building events, client dinners that somehow lasted until midnight. I wanted to be supportive. I wanted to be the understanding boyfriend who didn't question his girlfriend's commitment to her career. So I stayed quiet. But something inside me was starting to shift. Call it intuition, call it paranoia, I don't know. But I couldn't shake this feeling that something was off. The way she'd smile at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. The new perfume she started wearing. The fact that she'd become almost obsessive about going to the gym, suddenly caring about her appearance in ways she never had before. She'd always been beautiful, confident in her own skin, but now it was different. It was like she was getting ready for something, or someone. I tried to push these thoughts away. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Jessica loved me. We were building a life together. We talked about getting a dog, about maybe buying a house in a few years, about the future. People in failing relationships don't talk about the future, right? They don't make plans. They don't look at you with those soft eyes and say, I can't wait to grow old with you. But the doubts kept growing. They were like weeds in my mind, spreading, taking over everything that used to be beautiful and certain. I started paying more attention. I started noticing patterns. Every Tuesday and Thursday night, she had these late meetings. Every other Saturday, some work obligation would pop up. And always her phone was glued to her hand, face down, protected like it held nuclear launch codes. One evening, about 4 months ago, I decided to surprise her. She'd mentioned she'd be working late again, so I thought I'd be the sweet boyfriend and bring her dinner at the office. I picked up Thai food from her favorite place, got in my car, and drove downtown to her company's building. It was about 8:30 at night, and the city was quiet, that weird lull between rush hour and the nightlife crowd. I walked into the lobby with the food, feeling pretty good about myself. The security guard knew me from the few times I'd visited before, so he waved me through. I took the elevator up to the 7th floor, where Jessica's company occupied the entire space. The doors opened, and the office was dark. Not just dim, like people working late dark, but completely dark. Empty. Nobody was there. My heart started racing. I walked through the space anyway, checking meeting rooms, looking into cubicles, even knocking on the bathroom door. Nothing. No one. The office was closed for the night. I pulled out my phone and called Jessica. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. A text message. Hey, I'm at your office with food. Where are you? 20 minutes later, she called back. I could hear music and voices in the background. Ryan? What's wrong? Is everything okay? She sounded breathless, almost panicked. I'm at your office, I said slowly, to surprise you with dinner. But the office is empty. There was a pause, just a beat too long. Oh my God, babe, I'm so sorry. We moved to a client's office for this meeting. It was last minute. I should have told you. The explanation came out rushed, practiced, almost. I feel terrible. You're so sweet. I'll be home soon, okay? I promise. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. Where are you? I could bring the food there. No, don't worry about it. We're wrapping up now anyway. I'll grab something on the way home. Thank you, though. Really, you're amazing. And she hung up. I stood there in that dark, empty office for another 10 minutes, just staring at my phone. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. But I didn't have proof. I just had this sick feeling in my stomach and a bag of Thai food that was getting cold in my hands. When she got home that night around 11, she was all smiles and apologies. She kissed me, thanked me again for trying to surprise her, and launched into this elaborate story about the client meeting, about the difficult project, about how stressful work had been. I listened, I nodded, and I watched her carefully. She was good, very good. If I hadn't been looking for it, I never would have noticed the slight tremor in her voice, the way her eyes didn't quite meet mine when she talked about where she'd been. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there next to her, listening to her breathe, and I made a decision. I needed to know the truth. Not suspicions, not gut feelings, but the actual truth. Because if I was wrong, if I was just being a paranoid, insecure boyfriend, I needed to fix whatever was broken in me. But if I was right, if she was lying to me, then I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. The next morning, after Jessica left for work, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through her things. Not physically, I mean, I didn't go through her drawers or anything like that. But I knew she had an old laptop she barely used anymore, one she'd had before we met. It was in the closet, and I knew her old password because she'd used it for years before changing it. I opened it up, and there it was. Her email still logged in. Her social media accounts still logged in. Everything just sitting there waiting. I'm not going to lie to you. My hands were shaking as I clicked through her messages. Part of me hoped I'd find nothing. Part of me hoped this would all be in my head and I could close the laptop, forget this ever happened, and work on trusting her again. But that's not what I found. Not even close. What I found was a conversation. Actually, multiple conversations going back months with a guy named Derek. And these weren't work conversations. These were intimate, flirty, the kind of messages you send to someone when you're interested in them, when you're pursuing something more than friendship. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through them. Pet names, inside jokes, plans to meet up, and then I saw it. A message from 3 months ago. I can't wait to see you tonight. I hate lying to Ryan, but I'm not ready to leave him yet. Soon, I promise. Just give me a little more time. I couldn't breathe. I literally could not get air into my lungs. I sat there on the edge of our bed, staring at that laptop screen, reading those words over and over again. I hate lying to Ryan, but I'm not ready to leave him yet. Not ready to leave him yet. Yet. Like it was inevitable. Like I was just a temporary situation she needed to manage until she could transition to her real life, her real relationship with Derek. I forced myself to keep reading, even though every word felt like a knife twisting in my chest. The messages went on and on. Weeks and weeks of conversations. They'd met at a networking event 4 months ago. He worked for a different company, something in tech sales. They'd hit it off immediately, she wrote. There's just this connection I can't explain, she told him. I feel like I can be myself with you in ways I can't with anyone else. With anyone else, including me, the person she lived with, the person she supposedly loved, the person who was saving up to marry her. I learned so much from those messages. Too much. Every Tuesday and Thursday night when she claimed to be at work, she was with him. Dinner dates, movies, long walks through the city. All the things we used to do together, she was doing with him. And the Saturdays, those weekend work obligations, were day trips with Derek. They'd driven to the coast together. They'd gone hiking in the mountains. They'd spent entire afternoons at his apartment. His apartment. The messages made it clear they'd been physical. I didn't need explicit details to understand what was happening. The way she talked about missing him, about counting down the hours until she could see him again, about how he made her feel alive, it was all there, spelled out in brutal clarity. But what killed me, what absolutely destroyed me, was reading how she talked about me. Ryan is sweet, she'd written. He's stable and reliable, and he loves me. But there's no spark anymore. Maybe there never really was. I think I just wanted security after everything I'd been through. But you make me feel things I've never felt before. No spark. Never really was. I was security. I was safe. I was the backup plan while she explored what she really wanted with someone else. 2 years of my life, 2 years of love and trust and building a future together, and I was just convenient. I don't know how long I sat there. Hours, maybe. I read through everything. Every message, every photo they'd exchanged, every plan they'd made. There were hundreds of messages. Thousands, probably. A whole entire relationship, running parallel to ours, hidden in plain sight. And she'd been so careful. The secret phone passcode, the face-down phone, the vague explanations. She'd covered her tracks perfectly. If I hadn't gone looking, if I hadn't had that moment of doubt when I showed up at her empty office, I might never have known. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Having a great day. Love you. Can't wait to see you tonight. I stare at that message, at that heart emoji, and something inside me just broke. Not the sad, crying kind of break. The cold, calculating, this changes everything kind of break. I took screenshots. Every conversation, every message that mattered. I created a private folder on my phone and backed everything up to the cloud. Then I carefully closed the laptop and put it back exactly where I found it. I stood up, went to the bathroom, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked the same. Same face, same eyes, same person. But I wasn't. I'd changed in the last few hours. The trusting, loving boyfriend who'd woken up that morning was gone. In his place was someone else. Someone who now knew the truth and needed to decide what to do with it. I could confront her. I could show her the screenshots, demand an explanation, break up with her right then and there. That's what most people would do, right? Catch them, call them out, end it. Clean and simple. But as I stood there, looking at my reflection, I realized something. That wasn't enough. A simple breakup, a confrontation, her crying and apologizing and maybe blaming me for not being exciting enough. That wasn't justice. That was just me getting hurt and her moving on to Derek with a clear conscience, probably telling everyone that we just grew apart or some other sanitized version of the truth. No, I wanted her to understand what she'd done. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling. I wanted her to know what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trust completely. And more than that, I wanted everyone else to know the truth too. Not a version of events she could control and spin. The real truth. But I needed to be smart about this. I needed a plan. React emotionally, and she just turned around on me. She'd make me the bad guy, the jealous, controlling boyfriend who couldn't handle her success. I'd seen it happen to friends. The cheater somehow becomes the victim in the narrative, and everyone nods sympathetically while the person who actually got betrayed looks like the villain. I wasn't going to let that happen. So I did something that might sound crazy. I acted normal. When Jessica came home that night, I kissed her hello. I asked about her day. I listened to her lie to my face about meetings and projects and deadlines, and I smiled and nodded like I believed every word. It was harder than I expected. Every instinct in my body wanted to scream at her, to throw her out, to show her the screenshots and watch her world fall apart. But I didn't. I played the part of the loving, clueless boyfriend perfectly. Over the next few days, I did my research. I learned everything I could about Derek. Social media made it easy. He was on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. I learned where he worked, where he lived, who his friends were, what he liked to do. He was 32, never married, seemed to have a decent career. In his photos, he looked exactly like the kind of guy Jessica would be attracted to. Confident, stylish, always smiling at the camera like he didn't have a care in the world. In some of those photos, I could see Jessica in the background or cropped out at the edge. They'd been careful, but not careful enough. I also started documenting everything. Every time Jessica said she was working late, I noted down along with where she actually was based on her phone's location sharing, which she'd forgotten was still active on the app we used to find each other in crowded places. Every lie, every excuse, every time she texted me saying she loved me while she was actually with him, I recorded it all, and I waited. I know that sounds cold, but I needed the right moment. I needed the perfect opportunity to expose everything in a way that she couldn't deflect or minimize. Patience, I kept telling myself. Patience. About 2 weeks after I discovered the truth, Jessica came to me all excited. Babe, guess what? My company is having this huge celebration next month. We landed a massive client, and they're throwing this fancy party to celebrate. Everyone is bringing their partners. I really want you to come with me. I want to show you off. She was beaming, genuinely happy, like she was so proud to have me by her side. The irony wasn't lost on me. She wanted to parade me around in front of her coworkers while she was actively cheating on me, while she was planning to leave me for another man. The audacity was almost impressive. Of course I'll come, I told her, matching her enthusiasm. I'd love to. You're the best, she said, hugging me tight. I'm so lucky to have you. Lucky, right? But that party gave me an idea. A brilliant, perfect, absolutely devastating idea. See, through my research on Derek, I'd learned that his company was the client Jessica's company had just landed. The massive deal they were celebrating? It was with Derek's company, which meant Derek would be at that party. And Jessica would be there with me, playing the role of devoted girlfriend, while her other boyfriend was somewhere in the same room. The universe, it seemed, had just handed me the perfect stage for the truth to come out. I spent the next 3 weeks preparing. I didn't just want to expose her at the party. I wanted to make sure everyone, and I mean everyone, understood exactly what had been happening. I contacted Derek through a fake social media account, posing as someone who wanted to share some information about a mutual friend. I was careful, planting seeds without revealing who I was or what I knew. I wanted him there, unsuspecting, just like Jessica. I also reached out to a few people who deserved to know the truth. Jessica's best friend, Maya, who I'd become friends with over the years. Jessica's brother, who I'd played basketball with every Sunday. My own best friend, Tom, who needed to know what was happening so he could be there for me when everything went down. I didn't tell them everything, just enough to make sure they'd be at the party or available immediately after. And I practiced. I practiced. Standing in front of the mirror, saying the words I need to say, making sure I could keep my voice steady, making sure I wouldn't break down or let emotion take over. This needed to be controlled, precise, effective. Jessica noticed I seemed a bit off during those weeks. "Are you okay?" she'd ask. "You seem distant." "Just work stress," I'd lie, giving her a taste of her own medicine. "Big project coming up." "I'm fine, though. Promise." She'd accept that explanation easily, probably because she was so focused on her own double life that she didn't have the energy to dig deeper into mine. That was fine with me. The less attention I drew, the better. The night before the party, Jessica was in the bedroom picking out her dress. She tried on 3 different options, asking my opinion on each one. I told her she looked beautiful in all of them, which was true. She did. Beautiful and completely unaware that her world was about to implode. "I'm nervous," she admitted, sitting on the bed in the final dress choice, a sleek black number that fit her perfectly. "This is such a big deal for the company, for my career. I want everything to be perfect." "It will be," I assured her, sitting next to her and taking her hand. "Tomorrow night is going to be unforgettable." She smiled at me, that same smile that had made me fall in love with her 2 years ago. "Thank you for being so supportive. I know I've been busy lately, distracted with work, but I want you to know how much you mean to me, how much I appreciate you." I looked into her eyes, searching for any sign of guilt, any hint of the lies she'd been living. But there was nothing. She was either a phenomenal actress, or she genuinely compartmentalized her life so completely that she could sit here holding my hand and feel no conflict at all about what she'd been doing behind my back. "I appreciate you too," I said softly. "More than you know." That night, I barely slept. I lay there in the dark, Jessica curled up next to me, and I ran through the plan one more time in my head. Every detail, every contingency, every possible way things could go wrong. I thought of everything. I was sure of it. Tomorrow night, the truth would come out. Tomorrow night, Jessica would finally understand what it felt like to be betrayed. Tomorrow night, everything would change. The day of the party arrived with perfect weather. Sunny, clear, not too hot. The kind of day that makes you think good things are going to happen. Jessica was up early, excited and nervous, rushing around the apartment getting ready. She'd taken the day off work to prepare, which meant I worked from home, watching her buzz around with energy and anticipation. "Do you think this clutch match is better, or should I go with the smaller one?" she asked, holding up 2 different purses. I glanced up from my laptop. The smaller one, more elegant, You're right. You always know. She kissed my cheek and disappeared back into the bedroom. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom. You sure about this, man? This is pretty extreme. I typed back. Never been more sure of anything. Trust me. Tom and I have been friends since college. He'd been there through everything with my dad, through bad breakups, through my struggles to find the right career path. He was the brother I never had. When I told him what I discovered about Jessica and what I was planning to do about it, he'd been skeptical at first. Just dump her and move on, he'd said. Why put yourself through this? But I'd explained it to him. This wasn't about revenge in the petty sense. This was about truth. This was about making sure Jessica couldn't rewrite history, couldn't make me the bad guy, couldn't skip off into the sunset with Derek while leaving me looking like the fool who never saw it coming. She needed to be held accountable, and that required witnesses. It required undeniable proof presented in a way she couldn't talk her way out of. Tom eventually understood. All right, he'd said. I've got your back. Whatever you need. By 6 p.m., we were both dressed and ready to go. I wore my best suit. The dark blue one Jessica always said made me look handsome. She looked stunning in her black dress, her hair done perfectly, makeup flawless. She took a selfie of us together before we left. For Instagram later, she said, "We look so good together." The party was being held in an upscale hotel downtown, in one of those fancy ballrooms with crystal chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. We arrived fashionably on time, not too early, not too late. Jessica grabbed my hand as we walked in, and I could feel how nervous she was. Her palm was slightly sweaty, her grip tight. "You've got this," I whispered to her. "Tonight's going to be amazing." The room was already filling up with people. Jessica's co-workers, clients, executives from both companies. There was a bar in one corner, servers circulating with appetizers, a DJ playing subtle background music. Everything was elegant, professional, and expensive. This was clearly a big deal for the company. Jessica introduced me to various people as we made our way through the crowd. Her boss, her team members, people from different departments. I smiled, shook hands, made small talk. Everyone seemed to know about me. "Oh, you're Ryan," they'd say. "Jessica talks about you all the time." They had no idea. None of them had any idea. And then I saw him. Derek. He was standing near the bar, talking to a group of people, laughing at something someone said. He was tall, probably 6'2", with the kind of casual confidence that comes from never really struggling in life. Good-looking, sure, in that generic way that photographs well. He was wearing a gray suit, no tie, top button undone. Relaxed, comfortable, completely unsuspecting. Jessica hadn't seen him yet. She was talking to a coworker about some project detail, animated and engaged. I watched Derek scan the room, and when his eyes landed on Jessica, I saw it. That look, the one you give someone when they're more than just a coworker or acquaintance. Recognition, affection, desire. It was subtle, but it was there. And then his eyes shifted to me, standing next to her, my arm around her waist. His expression flickered for just a second. Surprise? Concern? It was hard to tell. But then he recovered, looked away, went back to his conversation like nothing had happened. So he knew about me. Of course he did. Jessica had told him. But seeing me in person, seeing us together as a couple, that was probably different than however he'd imagined it in his head. Good. Let him be uncomfortable. "I need to go say hi to some of the clients," Jessica said, squeezing my hand. "Will you be okay here for a few minutes? Grab a drink, mingle." "Take your time," I said. "I'll be fine." She kissed me quickly and headed off into the crowd. I watched her work the room, professional and charming. She was good at this, at being the person everyone liked, the rising star everyone bet on. And she was probably good at keeping secrets too, at managing multiple versions of herself, depending on who she was talking to. I made my way to the bar and ordered a whiskey. I needed something to steady my nerves. The bartender poured it neat, and I took a slow sip, letting the burn focus me. This was it. Everything I'd planned for the last 3 weeks was about to happen. No turning back now. Ryan, right? I turned. Derek was standing next to me, that easy smile on his face. Up close, he looked even more polished. Perfect teeth, expensive watch, the kind of guy who never had to work particularly hard for anything. That's right, I said, keeping my voice neutral. And you are? Derek Mitchell. I work for Titan Solutions. We're the client your girlfriend's company just signed. He extended his hand. I shook it, probably gripping a bit harder than necessary. All right, the big deal. Congrats. Thanks. It's exciting for both companies. He ordered a scotch, then turned back to me. So, you and Jessica have been together for a while, right? Oh, this was Rich. He was actually going to have a conversation with me, probably trying to size me up to see what kind of person he was helping Jessica betray. The audacity was breathtaking. About 2 years now, I said. Best 2 years of my life. Something flickered across his face. Guilt? Doubt? That's great, man. She's really something. She really is, I agreed. Honest, loyal, genuine. Everything you'd want in a partner. Now he looked distinctly uncomfortable. He took a long drink of his scotch. Yeah, well, I should probably get back. Nice meeting you. Oh, you too, Derek. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other. He walked away quickly, disappearing into the crowd. I smiled to myself. That little interaction had probably shaken him more than he wanted to admit. Good. He should be shaken. They both should be. Jessica found me about 20 minutes later. How's it going? You doing okay? Great, I said. Actually met Derek. Seems like a nice guy. Her face went pale. Just for a second, but I saw it. Pure panic. Oh, you met Derek? That's good. Yeah, he's been great to work with on this deal. I'm sure he has, I said, watching her carefully. She recovered quickly, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. She was probably wondering what we talked about, if he'd said anything, if I suspected anything. She was trying to read me, to figure out if this was a problem or just an innocent encounter. Well, I should probably make the round some more, she said. Big crowd tonight. Sure, I'll be here. As she walked away, I noticed her pull out her phone and quickly type something. A minute later, across the room, I saw Derek check his phone. He read whatever message she'd sent, looked up, found her in the crowd, and gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. They were communicating, coordinating, making sure their stories stayed straight. The next hour was a blur of small talk and fake smiles. I talked to Jessica's coworkers, her boss, random people from the client company. I played the part of the supportive boyfriend perfectly. Meanwhile, I was watching. I saw Jessica and Derek carefully avoid being near each other. I saw the glances they'd steal when they thought no one was looking. I saw her excuse herself to the bathroom and him follow a few minutes later, probably meeting somewhere private to have a panic conversation about my presence and what it might mean. Around 9 p.m., Jessica's boss called for everyone's attention. He stood at the front of the room with a microphone, thanking everyone for coming, talking about the successful partnership between the two companies, praising Jessica's team for their hard work. There was applause, a toast with champagne, the usual corporate celebration stuff. And then he said something that made my heart race. Before we wrap up the formal part of the evening, I want to open up the floor. If anyone has anything they'd like to share, any thoughts or messages, now's the time. It was meant for more corporate thank yous, for team members to acknowledge each other, for clients to express their appreciation. But it was also the perfect opening for what I needed to do. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. A text from Tom. I'm here, outside the ballroom, ready when you are. This was it, the moment of truth. I took a deep breath, finished my drink, and started making my way to the front of the room. Jessica saw me moving and gave me a curious look, probably wondering what I was doing. Her boss noticed me approaching and smiled, handing me the microphone. "I think this gentleman has something he'd like to say," he announced cheerfully. The room quieted down. Everyone turned to look at me. 100 people, maybe more, all waiting to hear what I had to say. In the crowd, I found Jessica's face. She looked confused but not alarmed. Not yet. I found Derek too. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "Hi everyone," I started, my voice steady and clear. "For those who don't know me, I'm Ryan Harris. I'm Jessica's boyfriend." I paused, making sure everyone was paying attention. "I've been with Jessica for 2 years. We live together. We've built a life together. And up until about 3 weeks ago, I thought everything was perfect." Jessica's expression changed. Confusion turned to concern. She started moving toward me through the crowd, but people were in her way. "But then I discovered something," I continued. "Something that I think everyone here should know. Especially since this is a celebration of partnership, of trust, of people working together toward common goals." "Ryan, what are you doing?" Jessica's voice cut through the room. She made it closer to the front, her face now showing clear alarm. I looked directly at her. "I'm telling the truth, Jessica. Something you haven't done in months." The room was dead silent now. You could have heard a pin drop. I pulled out my phone and held it up. 3 weeks ago, I discovered that Jessica has been having an affair. Not with just anyone, but with Derek Mitchell. You know, the guy from Titan Solutions. The client everyone's celebrating tonight. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jessica's face went from pale to bright red. "Ryan, stop. Please. This isn't what?" "True," I interrupted. "Because I have messages, Jessica. Hundreds of them. I have proof of every lie, every fake work meeting, every time you told me you loved me while you were planning your future with someone else." Derek tried to move toward the exit, but Tom had appeared at the ballroom entrance, blocking his path. Other people were pulling out their phones now, recording this. The corporate celebration had turned into something very different, and everyone wanted to capture it. "Ryan, please." Jessica was begging now, tears starting to form in her eyes. "Can we talk about this privately? Please." "Privately?" I laughed, and it came out bitter. "Like all those private conversations you had with Derek? The ones where you talked about leaving me? The ones where you said there was never really a spark between us, that I was just stable and safe?" Her boss stepped forward, looking completely bewildered. I think maybe we should all take a moment here." "No," I said firmly. "No more moments. No more waiting. Everyone here deserves to know the truth. You're celebrating a partnership built on lies. While Jessica's team was working on this deal, she was sleeping with the client. Conflict of interest much? That sent another wave of shock through the room. Jessica's boss turned to look at her, his expression hardening. That was a serious accusation, one that had real professional consequences beyond just the personal drama. "It wasn't like that," Jessica said desperately. "The relationship didn't affect the business deal. We kept everything separate." "Oh, you kept things separate?" I cut her off. "Is that what you call lying to your boyfriend every Tuesday and Thursday night? Is that what you call spending weekends with him while telling me you were at team building events? You kept your lies separate, Jessica. That's what you kept separate." I turned to address the crowd again. "I want everyone here to understand something. This isn't just about a cheating girlfriend. This is about someone who looked me in the eye every single day and lied. Someone who let me save up for an engagement ring while she was planning a future with someone else. Someone who had no intention of being honest until she was ready to leave on her own terms, with her own narrative, making me look like the guy who just wasn't good enough." I pulled up my phone and started reading from the screenshots I'd saved. Here's a message from 2 months ago. "Jessica to Derek. I know I need to end things with Ryan soon. He's talking about marriage, and I can't string him along forever. But I need to figure out the logistics first. The apartment, our shared expenses, how to break it to his family. It's complicated. Jessica was fully crying now, mascara running down her face. Several of her coworkers were staring at her with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. Her boss looked like he wanted to be anywhere else in the world. Here's another one. I continued. Derek, you make me feel alive in ways I never have before. Ryan is sweet, but he's boring. Predictable. With you, everything is exciting. I can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. Stop, Jessica sobbed. Please stop. Why? I asked, and my voice was cold now. Because it's embarrassing? Because everyone is seeing who you really are? You didn't stop, Jessica. You didn't stop lying to me for months. You didn't stop when I told you I loved you. You didn't stop when we talked about our future. Why should I stop telling the truth? Derek finally spoke up from his position near Tom. Look, man, I get that you're angry, but this isn't the place. Oh, Derek wants to talk now. I turned to face him. Tell me, Derek, when Jessica told you she had a boyfriend, did that make you pause for even a second? Or did you just not care because you wanted what you wanted? He opened his mouth, then closed it. What could he say? There was no good answer. Here's what really gets me, I said, addressing the room again. Both of them knew this was wrong. They knew they were hurting me, but they did it anyway because it felt good, because they wanted to, and they would have kept doing it indefinitely if I hadn't found out. Jessica would have kept coming home to me, sleeping in our bed, talking about our future, all while maintaining this completely separate relationship. I looked at Jessica again. She was a mess now, completely broken down. Part of me, a small part, felt bad for her. But mostly I felt nothing. The pain I'd carried for 3 weeks had transformed into something else. Clarity, purpose, justice. You want to know why I'm doing this here, in front of everyone? I said to her, because you don't get to control the narrative anymore. You don't get to paint me as the boyfriend who couldn't make you happy or the guy who was too jealous and controlling. Everyone here now knows exactly what happened. They know you cheated. They know you lied. They know you were going to keep doing it for as long as it suited you. Jessica's boss cleared his throat. Jessica, I think you need to leave. Now. And we'll be having a very serious conversation on Monday about professional ethics and conflicts of interest. Sir, please, she started. Now, Jessica. She looked around the room desperately, searching for a friendly face, someone who might defend her. But there was no one. Even her close co-workers were looking away, uncomfortable and unwilling to get involved. She destroyed her credibility in minutes. Everything she'd built, all the professional respect she'd earned, gone. She grabbed her clutch and started walking toward the exit. As she passed me, she stopped. I hope you're happy, she whispered, her voice full of venom. You just humiliated me in front of everyone I work with. I leaned in close. You humiliated yourself, Jessica. I just made sure everyone could see it. She pushed past me and practically ran out of the ballroom. A few seconds later, Derek followed, though several people called out to him, demanding answers about the ethical implications of his relationship with someone handling his company's contract. The room erupted into conversation the moment they left. Everyone talking at once, phones out, the gossip spreading in real time. Jessica's boss approached me, looking both angry and sympathetic. I'm sorry you had to go through this, he said. But I have to ask, did their relationship influence the business deal in any way? This is a serious matter for both companies. I honestly don't know, I told him, but I have all their messages saved and backed up. I'd be happy to share them with you and anyone else who needs to review them for compliance purposes. He nodded grimly. Please send them to me tomorrow. We'll need to conduct a full investigation. Tom appeared at my side, putting a hand on my shoulder. You did it, man. You okay? Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I'm okay. We left the party shortly after. As we walked out, people were still talking, still processing what had just happened. I become infamous in about 15 minutes. The boyfriend who exposed his cheating girlfriend at a corporate party. It will be talked about for years, probably. Become one of those legendary stories people tell at happy hours. You'll never believe what happened at the Titan Solutions celebration. In the car, Tom drove while I sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window at the city lights passing by. You know everyone's going to be talking about this, right? Tom said, it's going to be all over social media by tomorrow. Let them talk, I said. The truth is the truth. What about Jessica? What do you think she'll do? I shrugged. Not my problem anymore. She and Derek can figure out their relationship now. No more hiding, no more lies. They wanted to be together so badly. Well, now they can be publicly, with everyone knowing exactly how it started. My phone started buzzing with calls and texts. Jessica's friends, her brother, people I knew asking what happened, if I was okay, if it was true. I turned my phone off. I'd deal with all of that tomorrow. Tonight, I just needed to process everything. Tom dropped me at his apartment. We'd planned for this. I wasn't going back to the apartment I shared with Jessica, at least not tonight. Maybe not ever. I'd figure that out later. Beer, Tom offered, opening his fridge. Yeah, definitely. We sat on his couch, drinking in silence for a while. Finally, Tom spoke up. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret it? The way you did it, I mean. You could have just confronted her privately, ended things, moved on. I thought about that. No, I said finally. I don't regret it. She deserved exactly what she got. People like Jessica, they're good at manipulating situations, at making themselves look like the victim. If I'd confronted her privately, she would have cried, apologized, maybe even convinced me to give her another chance. And then she would have told everyone we broke up because I was controlling or jealous or couldn't handle her success. Everyone would have felt sorry for her. But now everyone knows the truth. She can't rewrite history. She can't make herself the victim. She has to own what she did. Tom nodded slowly. I get it. It's just pretty brutal. Betrayal is brutal, I said. She chose to cheat. She chose to lie. I just chose to make sure there were consequences. We drank our beers and watched some mindless TV show. Around midnight, my phone, which I turned back on to set an alarm, lit up with a notification. A text from an unknown number. You're a psychopath. You ruined her life. Probably one of Jessica's friends. I didn't respond. Let them think what they wanted. Another text came through, this one from Jessica herself. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I never meant to hurt you like this. I was confused and scared, and I made terrible choices. But what you did tonight was cruel. You destroyed my career, my reputation, everything. Was that really necessary? I stared at that message for a long time. Was it necessary? In the grand scheme of things, probably not. I could have taken a higher road, ended things quietly, let karma work itself out eventually. But the high road doesn't always feel satisfying when you're the one who got betrayed. Sometimes, justice requires action. I typed back. You had months to tell me the truth. You had so many opportunities to be honest, to end things with dignity. You chose to keep lying. You chose to keep deceiving me. What I did tonight was make sure you couldn't lie anymore. That's not cruelty. That's consequences. I sent it and then blocked her number. There was nothing more to say. I woke up the next morning to discover I'd become a viral sensation, though not in the way anyone wants. Someone at the party had recorded the entire confrontation and posted it online. By morning, it had spread across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Man exposes cheating girlfriend at corporate party was trending. There were millions of views, thousands of comments, people dissecting every word, every expression, every detail. The comments were split. Half the people were calling me a hero. This is exactly what cheaters deserve, they wrote. Good for him for not letting her get away with it. She thought she could have her cake and eat it too. He showed her otherwise. The support was overwhelming, Actually, strangers from around the world sending me messages of encouragement, sharing their own stories of betrayal, thanking me for having the courage to expose the truth. But the other half thought I was a monster. This was emotional abuse, they claimed. He humiliated her publicly instead of handling it privately. Two wrongs don't make a right. Cheating is bad, but what he did was worse. There were think pieces about public shaming, about whether my actions were justified, about the ethics of revenge. I read through some of the comments while drinking coffee at Tom's place. It was surreal seeing strangers debate the intimate details of my life, making judgments without knowing the full story. But I'd expected this. When you do something as dramatic as what I did, you don't get to control how people react. Tom came out of his bedroom, looking concerned. Have you seen what's happening online? Yeah, I said. It's everywhere. How are you feeling about it? Honestly, I felt fine. Better than fine, actually. Lighter. Like I've been carrying this enormous weight for 3 weeks, and now it was gone. I'm good. Really. Your phone's been blowing up all morning. Have you checked your messages? I hadn't. I picked up my phone and scrolled through. Dozens of messages from people I knew. My mom, worried and asking what happened. Jessica's brother, angry and calling me names. Friends, checking in, offering support. Co-workers who'd somehow heard about it. Even a few reporters asking for interviews. The message that caught my attention was from Maya, Jessica's best friend. Ryan, we need to talk. Can you call me? I called her back. She answered on the first ring. What the hell happened last night? She said immediately. I've been trying to reach you both. Jessica is completely falling apart. She's been cheating on me for months, Maya, with a guy named Derek. I found out 3 weeks ago. Silence. Then what? No, that can't be right. She wouldn't. I have the messages. Hundreds of them. She was planning to leave me, but wanted to wait until it was convenient for her. She lied to my face every single day. More silence. I could hear Maya breathing, processing. I had no idea. She never said anything. Are you sure? I'm sure. I have proof. Screenshots, dates, everything. Oh my God, Maya said quietly. Ryan, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was doing that to you. Not many people did. She was very good at hiding it. But what you did at the party, that was pretty extreme. I mean, I get that you were hurt, but what? I interrupted. She deserved to face consequences. If I'd just broken up with her quietly, she would have spun the story however she wanted. Made me the bad guy. This way, everyone knows the truth. Maya sighed. I understand why you did it. I do. But Jessica's career might be over. Her company is launching an investigation. Derek's company too. They're both facing potential termination. Good, I said, and I meant it. They should face consequences. They made choices. Those choices have impacts. She's been calling me all night, sobbing. She's devastated, Ryan. Completely broken. She broke herself, Maya. She made these choices. I just made sure there was accountability. We talked for a few more minutes before hanging up. Maya said she understood my side, but she also felt obligated to be there for Jessica as a friend. I got that. I didn't expect everyone to pick sides, though many would. Over the next few days, the situation continued to unfold. Jessica's company launched their investigation into potential conflicts of interest. Apparently, there were serious questions about whether the deal with Derek's company was influenced by their personal relationship. Jessica had been on the team that evaluated proposals from multiple vendors, and Derek's company won. Was it a fair process, or did Jessica push for his company to get the contract? I sent all the messages to Jessica's boss as promised. He called me afterward, sounding exhausted. This is a nightmare, he said. If there's even a hint that she influenced the deal because of her personal relationship, we could face legal issues. The other vendors who lost could claim the process was unfair. I'm sorry, I told him, and I was. I hadn't intended to blow up their entire business deal. I just wanted the truth to come out. "Don't be sorry," he said. "If this happened, we need to know. Better to deal with it now than have it come out later." "But Ryan, Jessica's being put on administrative leave pending the investigation. If we find evidence that she influenced the decision, she'll be terminated, possibly face legal action." Jessica reached out again through a different number I hadn't blocked yet. "Please tell them you made it up. Tell them you were just angry and exaggerated everything. My entire career is on the line. I'll lose everything." I didn't respond. She'd made her bed. Derek, meanwhile, had his own problems. His company was reviewing his conduct, and apparently, there were internal policies about relationships with clients during active negotiations. He'd violated several ethical guidelines. I heard through the grapevine that he was also facing potential termination. Some people might think I'd feel guilty about all this, about potentially ruining 2 careers, causing company-wide investigations, creating this massive mess. But I didn't. Because here's the thing, I didn't do any of this. They did. They chose to start a relationship while Jessica was representing her company in a business deal with Derek's company. They chose to hide it. They chose to lie. They chose to continue even when they knew it was wrong, even when they knew it violated professional ethics, even when they knew it was hurting someone. All I did was tell the truth. That's it. I didn't fabricate anything. I didn't exaggerate. I simply shared what they had actually done in their own words from their own messages. If the truth destroyed their careers, that's on them, not on me. My own life was moving forward. I went back to our apartment, my apartment now, with Tom for backup. Jessica had cleared out most of her stuff while I was gone. She left a note. "I've moved in with my brother. I'll come back for the rest of my things next week. Please don't be there when I do." Fine by me. I texted her brother to coordinate a time when I wouldn't be home. No point in dragging out the painful parts. The apartment felt different without her there. Empty, but also cleaner somehow. Less complicated. I walked through each room, looking at what she'd left behind, what she'd taken. She'd left the photos of us. All of them. Probably couldn't stand to look at them anymore. I took them down and put them in a box in the closet. Maybe someday I'd throw them away. Maybe someday I'd be able to look at them and just feel nothing. Work was awkward for a few days. People had seen the videos, read the articles, knew what happened. Some co-workers were supportive, patting me on the back, telling me I did the right thing. Others avoided me, probably thinking I was unstable or vindictive. That was fine. I wasn't there to make friends. I was there to do my job. My boss called me into his office on day 3. I thought maybe he was going to warn me about bringing personal drama to work or something. But instead, he closed the door and said, "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay," I said honestly. "Better than I expected, actually." He nodded. "What you went through, that's rough. I've been there. Different circumstances, but I know what betrayal feels like." He paused. "I also saw the video. The whole internet did. Can I give you some advice?" "Sure. People are going to have opinions about what you did. Strong opinions. Some will think you're justified. Others will think you went too far. Don't let either group define how you feel about it. You did what you needed to do for your own sense of justice. That's between you and your conscience. Nobody else gets a vote." I appreciated that. "Thank you. Now take today off. Go home, decompress, and come back Monday ready to focus. Don't let this define you. You're more than this moment." I left the office and drove to the park near my apartment. I sat on a bench and watched people go by. Joggers, families with kids, couples holding hands. Life was just continuing like it always does. My world had exploded, but everyone else's kept spinning. My phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Ryan." It was Jessica's mom. We'd always had a good relationship. She'd treated me like a son. "Hi, Mrs. Patterson. I heard what happened. All of it." Jessica told me her side, but I also saw the video. I read some of the messages you share with her employer. She paused. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry for what my daughter did to you. You didn't deserve that. I felt tears prick my eyes. I hadn't expected this. Thank you. That means a lot. I raised her better than this, Mrs. Patterson continued, and she sounded like she was crying too. I taught her about honesty, about treating people with respect. I don't know where I went wrong. You didn't go wrong, I said. Jessica made her own choices. That's on her, not on you. What you did at that party, I won't lie, it was hard to watch, but I understand why you did it. She wasn't going to tell the truth otherwise. She was going to make you the villain in her story. That's exactly what she was going to do. Well, for what it's worth, I don't blame you. And I hope you can find happiness again. You're a good man, Ryan. You deserved better than what my daughter gave you. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, letting the tears fall. Not tears of sadness, really. More like release. Everything I've been holding in for 3 weeks, all the anger and hurt and betrayal, was finally coming out. And it felt okay to let it. 2 weeks after the party, I got a call from Jessica's boss again. The investigation is complete, he said. We found enough evidence of conflict of interest to terminate Jessica's employment. Derek's company came to a similar conclusion. They've both been let go. What about the deal between the companies? I asked. It's still moving forward, actually. We reviewed the proposal process thoroughly, and while there were definite ethical violations, the deal itself appears to have been solid on its merits. Derek's company really did offer the best solution. So we're continuing, but with different representatives from both sides. So that was it. Jessica and Derek had lost their jobs, their reputations, and each other. Because yes, I'd heard they'd broken up. Apparently, when a fantasy became reality and they actually had to be together without the thrill of sneaking around, it wasn't as exciting. Turns out when a relationship is built on lies and betrayal, it doesn't have a solid foundation. Who would have thought? A month after everything went down, I was finally starting to feel like myself again. Not the same person I was before. That guy was gone, replaced by someone harder, more cautious, but also more honest with himself. I'd learned lessons I never wanted to learn, gained wisdom I never wanted to need. But here I was surviving, moving forward, rebuilding. I sat down one evening with a glass of wine and really thought about everything that had happened. Well, what I did right? Was it justified? Was it too far? These questions have been swirling in my head for weeks, fueled by the thousands of online comments and the conflicting opinions of everyone around me. Here's what I concluded. What Jessica did was objectively wrong. Cheating, lying, planning to leave on her own terms without giving me the truth. All of it was wrong. There's no debate about that. What I did was more complicated. Was it cruel? Maybe. Was it harsh? Definitely. Was it more public than it needed to be? Probably. But was it unjustified? No, I don't think it was. See, people talk about taking the high road, about being the bigger person, about forgiving and moving on. And that's all fine advice in theory. But in practice, the high road often means letting people get away with terrible behavior. It means being quiet about injustice because speaking up might be uncomfortable or messy. It means allowing someone to control the narrative of your own pain. I chose not to be quiet. I chose to make sure Jessica faced consequences for her actions. And yes, those consequences were severe, but they were also proportional to what she'd done. She didn't just cheat once in a moment of weakness. She carried on a months-long affair while living with me, planning a future with me, accepting my love and trust every single day. That level of deception deserved more than just a quiet breakup. The professional consequences, her losing her job, the investigation into ethical violations, those weren't my goal, but they were predictable outcomes of the truth coming out. If she'd been honest from the start, if she'd ended things with me before starting something with Derek, If she'd maintained professional boundaries during a business negotiation, none of that would have happened. But she didn't do those things. She made choices that violated both personal and professional ethics. And when those choices came to light, there were consequences. That's how the world is supposed to work. Did I enjoy watching her suffer? No. Despite everything, I didn't take pleasure in her pain. But I did feel satisfied that justice had been served. There's a difference. I started going to therapy around this time. My mom suggested it, and initially I was resistant. I'm fine, I kept saying. But Tom eventually convinced me. Just try it, he said. What's the worst that could happen? My therapist, Dr. Chun, was in her 50s, calm and thoughtful. In our first session, I told her everything, the relationship, the discovery, the exposure, the aftermath. She listened without judgment, taking notes occasionally, but mostly just letting me talk. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "How do you feel about what you did?" "Justified," I said immediately. But also, I don't know, conflicted sometimes. People online, people I know, they have such strong opinions. Some think I'm a hero. Some think I'm a villain. It's confusing. What matters is what you think, she said. Not what strangers on the internet think. Not what your friends or family think. Do you believe your actions were justified? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yes, I said finally. I do. She hurt me deeply, and she was going to keep hurting me. She was going to leave eventually and make me look like the problem. Why did prevented that? It made sure the truth came out. Dr. Chin nodded. That's important, that you feel your actions were justified. But I want to ask you something else. If you could go back, would you do it the same way? Or would you change anything? That was harder to answer. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me thinks I should have just confronted her privately, ended things, and moved on. Let karma handle the rest. But another part of me knows that wouldn't have felt like justice. It would have felt like she got away with it. Justice and revenge often look very similar, Dr. Chun said gently. The line between them is thin, and it's usually about intent. Did you expose Jessica to seek justice, to hold her accountable for her actions? Or did you do it for revenge, to hurt her the way she hurt you? I sat with that question for a long time. Both, maybe, I said honestly. I wanted her to be held accountable, but I also wanted her to feel what I felt. I wanted her to understand the pain of betrayal. Does that make me a bad person? It makes you human, she said. You were deeply hurt, and you wanted the person who hurt you to understand that impact. That's a very human response. The question is, now that it's done, can you let it go? Can you move forward without being defined by this moment? That became my work in therapy over the following weeks. Learning to process the betrayal without letting it consume me. Learning to trust again without being paranoid. Learning to be open to love without being naive. It wasn't easy. Some days I felt like I'd made real progress. Other days I felt stuck, replaying everything in my head, wondering if I'd handled it all wrong. Around this time, I ran into Derek. Pure coincidence. We were both at the same coffee shop downtown. He saw me first, and I watched him debate whether to approach or just leave. Eventually, he walked over. "Ryan," he said, standing awkwardly near my table. "Derek, can I sit for a minute?" I gestured to the empty chair. He sat down, looking uncomfortable. He lost weight, I noticed. Dark circles under his eyes. The polished confidence from the party was gone, replaced by someone who looked genuinely beaten down. "I wanted to apologize," he said, "for everything. For what I did to you. What we did to you. I didn't say anything. Just waited. I know this doesn't fix anything," he continued, "but I need you to know that I'm sorry. I was selfish and thoughtless, and I justified it by telling myself that if Jessica was willing to cheat, her relationship with you must not have been that strong anyway. But that was bullshit. I knew it was wrong, and I did it anyway." "Why?" I asked. "Why pursue someone in a relationship? Why not just find someone single? He shrugged helplessly. I don't have a good answer. She was exciting. The sneaking around was thrilling. I liked her, and she liked me, and I didn't think about you as a real person. You were just an obstacle, something abstract, and that's terrible. I see that now. What happened between you two? I asked. I heard you broke up. Yeah. Turns out when a relationship starts with cheating and lying, it doesn't survive well in the real world. Once we both lost our jobs and everyone knew about us, there was no more excitement. Just consequences. We tried to make it work for a couple weeks, but he trailed off. It fell apart fast. So you lost your job, your relationship, and your reputation. All for what? A few months of excitement. Yeah, he said quietly. Pretty much. Look, I know you have every right to hate me, but I wanted to tell you face to face that I'm sorry. What I did was wrong, and you didn't deserve it. If I could take it back, I would. I studied him for a moment. He seemed genuinely remorseful. Broken even. Part of me wanted to tell him to go to hell, that his apology meant nothing. But another part of me recognized that holding on to anger was only hurting me at this point. I appreciate the apology, I said finally. I don't forgive you. I'm not there yet, and I might never be. But I appreciate that you had the guts to say it to my face. He nodded, stood up, and left. I watched him go, and I felt nothing much. No anger, no satisfaction, just a kind of neutral acknowledgement that this chapter was closing. My relationship with Jessica was different. We never had that conversation. She never apologized directly, never tried to explain herself beyond those first few desperate texts. I heard through mutual friends that she'd moved to a different city, was working in a completely different industry, had basically started her life over from scratch. Maybe that was for the best. A clean break, no lingering questions or unfinished business. Her friend Maya reached out a few more times. We'd grab coffee occasionally, and she'd update me on how Jessica was doing. She's getting help, Maya told me during one of these meetings. Therapy, working on herself. She knows she messed up. Good for her, I said, and I meant it. I didn't wish continued suffering on Jessica. I just wanted her to understand what she'd done and face the appropriate consequences. If she was actually working on herself, actually learning from this, then maybe something good could come from all the bad. She asks about you sometimes, Maya said carefully. Wants to know if you're okay. Tell her I'm fine, I said. And tell her I hope she figures things out. 3 months after the party, I went on my first date. Her name was Lauren, and we met through a mutual friend who insisted I needed to get back out there. I was nervous as hell. What do I tell her about my last relationship? Do I mention the viral video? Do I explain the whole dramatic situation? In the end, I decided on honesty. On our second date, when she asked about past relationships, I told her the truth. The whole story, the betrayal, the discovery, the public exposure, everything. I waited for her to make an excuse and leave. Instead, she said, wow, that's a lot. I'm so sorry you went through that. You don't think I went too far? With the public exposure, she thought about it. I think you did what you needed to do for your own sense of justice. Was it harsh? Yeah, but from what you're telling me, she wasn't planning to be honest with you. She was going to control the narrative and make you the bad guy. You prevented that. I don't think that makes you a bad person. We dated for a few months. It didn't work out long term. We wanted different things ultimately, but it was good. It taught me that I could trust again, that I could be open again, that not everyone was going to betray me. Lauren was kind and honest, and even though we didn't end up together, I'm grateful for what she taught me. 6 months after everything, I moved to a new apartment. Fresh start, new space, no memories of Jessica everywhere I looked. It was smaller than the place we'd shared, but it was mine, completely mine. I decorated it my way, set up my routines, created a life that was just for me. Tom came over for the housewarming. Just the two of us, pizza and beer, christening the new place. "You doing okay, man?" he asked. "Really? Yeah," I said, and it was true. I actually am. Some days are harder than others, but overall, I'm okay. Better than okay. Actually, no regrets about how you handled things. I thought about it. Some days I wonder if I should have done it differently. But mostly, no. I needed to do what I did. For me. For my own sense of justice and closure. You know, people are still talking about it, right? That video's never going away. I know. And that's okay. Let it be a warning. Don't cheat on people and expect no consequences. He raised his beer. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, I echoed. The truth is, what happened to me and what I did in response changed me. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm more cautious now, more aware of red flags, less willing to ignore my instincts. Some people might call that jaded or damaged. I call it wisdom earned the hard way. Do I believe in revenge? I'm not sure that's the right word for what I did. Revenge implies wanting to hurt someone just for the sake of hurting them. What I wanted was accountability. I wanted the truth to be known. I wanted Jessica to face real consequences for her actions, not just slip away quietly and rewrite history. If that's revenge, then yes, I believe in it. But I prefer to think of it as justice. Would I do it again? If I found myself in the same situation with the same information and the same opportunity? Honestly, probably yes. Because the alternative, suffering in silence, letting the cheater control the narrative, being painted as the inadequate partner who couldn't keep their girlfriend happy, that feels worse to me than any criticism I face from my public exposure. But I also learned something important. Justice and healing aren't the same thing. Getting justice, making sure Jessica faced consequences, exposing the truth, none of that actually healed my broken heart. That healing came from therapy, from time, from slowly rebuilding trust in myself and others, from creating a new life that wasn't defined by what she did to me. The person I am today is stronger than the person I was before. More resilient, more aware, less naive, but also less willing to settle. I know what I deserve now. I know what real love looks like, and I know what fake love pretending to be real looks like. Those lessons came at a high cost, but they're valuable nonetheless. Almost a year has passed since that night at the corporate party. A full year since I stood in front of a room full of strangers and exposed the truth about my relationship. Looking back now, with distance and perspective, I can see the whole situation more clearly. The good, the bad, and everything in between. I'm sitting in my apartment on a Saturday morning, drinking coffee and thinking about where I was a year ago versus where I am now. A year ago, I was planning a proposal, saving for a ring, believing I'd found my person. I was living in blissful ignorance, trusting completely, seeing what I wanted to see instead of what was actually there. Today, I'm alone, but I'm also free. Free from lies, free from betrayal, free from a relationship that was built on deception. People ask me sometimes if I'm bitter. Friends, family, even Dr. Chun in therapy. Are you bitter about what happened? And my honest answer is, no, not really. Sad sometimes? Yes. Disappointed in humanity occasionally? Sure. But bitter? That would require me to still be stuck in that moment, still consumed by what Jessica did to me. And I'm not. I've moved past it, not forgotten it, but integrated it into my story in a way that doesn't define me anymore. What I've realized over this past year is that betrayal teaches you things about yourself that you can't learn any other way. It forces you to confront uncomfortable truths, like the fact that I ignored red flags because I wanted the relationship to work. The late nights, the changed password, the increasing distance. I saw those things and chose to explain them away because the alternative was too painful to consider. That's on me. Not the cheating. That's all on Jessica. But my willingness to ignore my instincts. That's something I had to own and work on. Dr. Chin helped me understand that what I did at the party wasn't just about exposing Jessica. It was about reclaiming my power. For months, she'd had all the power in our relationship. She knew the truth. She controlled the narrative. She decided when and how things would end. By exposing her publicly, I took that power back. I became the one controlling the story. Was it the healthiest way to reclaim power? Probably not, but it was my way, and it worked for me. I've also learned a lot about forgiveness over this past year. Not forgiving Jessica. I'm still not sure I'm there yet, and maybe I never will be. But forgiving myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for investing 2 years in someone who didn't deserve it, for the public spectacle I created, for the people who got caught in the crossfire of my need for justice. Because there were people who got hurt beyond just Jessica and Derek. Jessica's co-workers who suddenly had to deal with a scandal. Her family who were embarrassed and confused. Derek's colleagues and clients who questioned everything about him. Even my own friends and family who had to field questions and deal with the viral nature of what happened. I didn't intend to hurt any of them, but my actions had ripple effects I couldn't control. Does that mean I regret what I did? No, but it means I understand the full scope of consequences now in a way I didn't then. In the moment, I was so focused on making sure Jessica faced accountability that I didn't fully consider everyone else who would be affected. That's something I've had to make peace with. I ran into Jessica's brother, Marcus, a few months ago. We used to be close, played basketball together every Sunday morning, grabbed beers after games, talked about sports and work and life. When everything went down with Jessica, he cut me off completely. Didn't return my calls, unfollowed me on social media, made it clear he was on his sister's side. I understood. Family is family. But when I saw him at the grocery store, he didn't avoid me. He actually walked over. "Ryan," he said, nodding. "Marcus, how are you?" "I'm good. Look, I wanted to say, I was angry at you for a long time. What you did to my sister, the way you exposed her, it destroyed her. She had to move away, start over completely. As her brother, I hated you for that." I nodded, waiting for whatever else he needed to say. But I also found out the whole truth. Not just what Jessica told me initially, but everything. I read some of the messages between her and that Derek guy. And he paused, looking uncomfortable. "She really did you wrong, man. The lying, the sneaking around, the things she said about you to him. It was bad. Really bad." "Yeah," I said simply. I'm not saying what you did was right. The public thing, the party, all of it was brutal. But I get why you did it now. If someone did that to me, if they lied to my face for months while sleeping with someone else, I don't know what I would have done. Maybe something worse. The truth is, what happened to me and what I did in response changed me. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm more cautious now, more aware of red flags, less willing to ignore my instincts. Some people might call that jaded or damaged. I call it wisdom earned the hard way. Do I believe in revenge? I'm not sure that's the right word for what I did. Revenge implies wanting to hurt someone just for the sake of hurting them. What I wanted was accountability. I wanted the truth to be known. I wanted Jessica to face real consequences for her actions, not just slip away quietly and rewrite history. If that's revenge, then yes, I believe in it. But I prefer to think of it as justice. Would I do it again? If I found myself in the same situation with the same information and the same opportunity? Honestly, probably yes. Because the alternative, suffering in silence, letting the cheater control the narrative, being painted as the inadequate partner who couldn't keep their girlfriend happy, that feels worse to me than any criticism I face for my public exposure. But I also learned something important. Justice and healing aren't the same thing. Getting justice, making sure Jessica faced consequences, exposing the truth, none of that actually healed my broken heart. That healing came from therapy, from time, from slowly rebuilding trust in myself and others, from creating a new life that wasn't defined by what she did to me. The person I am today is stronger than the person I was before, more resilient, more aware, less naive, but also less willing to settle. I know what I deserve now. I know what real love looks like, and I know what fake love pretending to be real looks like. Those lessons came at a high cost, but they're valuable nonetheless. Almost a year has passed since that night at the corporate party. A full year since I stood in front of a room full of strangers and exposed the truth about my relationship. Looking back now, with distance and perspective, I can see the whole situation more clearly. The good, the bad, and everything in between. I'm sitting in my apartment on a Saturday morning, drinking coffee and thinking about where I was a year ago versus where I am now. A year ago, I was planning a proposal, saving for a ring, believing I'd found my person. I was living in blissful ignorance, trusting completely, seeing what I wanted to see instead of what was actually there. Today, I'm alone, but I'm also free. Free from lies, free from betrayal, free from a relationship that was built on deception. People ask me sometimes if I'm bitter. Friends, family, even Dr. Chun in therapy. Are you bitter about what happened? And my honest answer is, no, not really. Sad sometimes? Yes. Disappointed in humanity occasionally? Sure. But bitter? That would require me to still be stuck in that moment, still consumed by what Jessica did to me. And I'm not. I've moved past it, not forgotten it, but integrated it into my story in a way that doesn't define me anymore. What I've realized over this past year is that betrayal teaches you things about yourself that you can't learn any other way. It forces you to confront uncomfortable truths, like the fact that I ignored red flags because I wanted the relationship to work. The late nights, the changed password, the increasing distance. I saw those things and chose to explain them away because the alternative was too painful to consider. That's on me. Not the cheating. That's all on Jessica. But my willingness to ignore my instincts. That's something I had to own and work on. Dr. Chin helped me understand that what I did at the party wasn't just about exposing Jessica. It was about reclaiming my power. For months, she'd had all the power in our relationship. She knew the truth. She controlled the narrative. She decided when and how things would end. By exposing her publicly, I took that power back. I became the one controlling the story. Was it the healthiest way to reclaim power? Probably not, but it was my way, and it worked for me. I've also learned a lot about forgiveness over this past year. Not forgiving Jessica. I'm still not sure I'm there yet, and maybe I never will be. But forgiving myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for investing 2 years in someone who didn't deserve it, for the public spectacle I created, for the people who got caught in the crossfire of my need for justice. Because there were people who got hurt beyond just Jessica and Derek. Jessica's co-workers who suddenly had to deal with a scandal. Her family who were embarrassed and confused. Derek's colleagues and clients who questioned everything about him. Even my own friends and family who had to field questions and deal with the viral nature of what happened. I didn't intend to hurt any of them, but my actions had ripple effects I couldn't control. Does that mean I regret what I did? No, but it means I understand the full scope of consequences now in a way I didn't then. In the moment, I was so focused on making sure Jessica faced accountability that I didn't fully consider everyone else who would be affected. That's something I've had to make peace with. I ran into Jessica's brother, Marcus, a few months ago. We used to be close, played basketball together every Sunday morning, grabbed beers after games, talked about sports and work and life. When everything went down with Jessica, he cut me off completely. Didn't return my calls, unfollowed me on social media, made it clear he was on his sister's side. I understood. Family is family. But when I saw him at the grocery store, he didn't avoid me. He actually walked over. Ryan, he said, nodding. Marcus, how are you? I'm good. Look, I wanted to say, I was angry at you for a long time. What you did to my sister, the way you exposed her, it destroyed her. She had to move away, start over completely. As her brother, I hated you for that. I nodded, waiting for whatever else he needed to say. But I also found out the whole truth. Not just what Jessica told me initially, but everything. I read some of the messages between her and that Derek guy. And he paused, looking uncomfortable. She really did you wrong, man. The lying, the sneaking around, the things she said about you to him. It was bad. Really bad. Yeah, I said simply. I'm not saying what you did was right. The public thing, the party, all of it was brutal. But I get why you did it now. If someone did that to me, if they lied to my face for months while sleeping with someone else, I don't know what I would have done. Maybe something worse. We talked for a few more minutes. He told me Jessica was doing better, working in marketing for a smaller company in Seattle, seeing a therapist, trying to rebuild her life. He also told me she'd been in a couple of relationships since moving, but nothing serious. I think she's scared to commit to anyone now, he said. Scared they'll do to her what she did to you. There was irony in that, but I didn't comment on it. Instead, I asked, is she happy? Marcus shrugged. I think she's working on it. She's not the same person she was before all this. More withdrawn, less confident. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe she needed to be humbled. After we parted ways, I thought about that conversation for days. Jessica was struggling, rebuilding, trying to become a better person. Part of me felt satisfied that there were real, lasting consequences for her actions. But another part of me, a small part one didn't expect to find, felt a tiny bit of sympathy. Not enough to forgive her, not enough to want her back in my life, but enough to hope she actually learned something from all this. Because here's what I've come to understand. Hurt people hurt people. Jessica's childhood was difficult. Divorced parents, moving around a lot, never feeling stable or secure. I'm not excusing what she did. Plenty of people come from difficult backgrounds and don't cheat on their partners. But I can see now how her fear of commitment, her need for excitement, her tendency to keep backup plans might have come from never feeling secure in her early life. That doesn't make what she did okay. It just makes it understandable in a way I couldn't see when I was in the middle of the pain. Distance and time have given me that perspective. I've been on several dates over the past year. Some good, some not so good, none that have turned into anything serious yet. And that's okay. I'm not in a rush. After spending 2 years in a relationship that was fundamentally broken without me knowing it, I'm cautious about who I let into my life now. Some people might call that being guarded or closed off. I call it being wise. The women I date usually ask about my last relationship eventually. I've learned to give them an honest but measured version of the story. My ex cheated on me for several months. When I found out, I confronted her publicly at a work event. It was messy, it went viral, and we both moved on. I don't lead with the dramatic details unless they ask for more. And their reaction tells me a lot about whether we're compatible. Some women are shocked and think I went too far. That's fine. We're probably not a good match anyway. Some are sympathetic and understand why I did what I did. Those are the ones I tend to connect with better. Not because they approve of public shaming, but because they understand that betrayal requires a response, and not everyone handles it the same way. I went on a date recently with a woman named Sarah. She's a teacher, thoughtful and kind, with a great sense of humor. On our third date, she asked about my past relationships. I told her the story, the abbreviated version. She was quiet for a moment, then said something that really struck me. You know what I admire about that? You refuse to be a victim. A lot of people would have just taken it, broken up quietly, let the cheater move on with no consequences. You made sure there were consequences. That takes courage. Or vindictiveness, I said, half joking. Maybe a little of both, she admitted. But mostly courage. You stood up for yourself in a situation where most people would have just suffered in silence. We're still seeing each other. It's early, and I don't know where it's going, but I like her. More importantly, I'm letting myself be open to the possibility of something real. That's growth. Tom and I were having our weekly basketball game a few weeks ago when he brought up the whole situation again. You never really told me, he said, breathing hard as we took a water break. Was it worth it? Everything that happened afterward, all the fallout, the viral videos, the judgment from strangers. Was exposing her worth all of that? I thought about it while catching my breath. Yeah, I said finally. It was. Because the alternative was letting her get away with it, letting her control the story, letting her paint me as the inadequate boyfriend. This way, everyone knows the truth, and the truth matters, even if the truth is messy and uncomfortable, especially when the truth is messy and uncomfortable. That's when it matters most. We finished our game, grabbed lunch afterward like we always do. Tom told me he was proud of how I'd handled everything, how I'd rebuilt my life, how I'd refused to let the betrayal break me. You're stronger than you were before, he said. Different, yeah, but stronger. He was right. I'm different. I'm less trusting, more observant, quicker to notice red flags. Some people might see that as damage. I see it as wisdom. I'm not cynical. I still believe in love, in partnership, in building a life with someone. But I'm no longer naive. I know that people are capable of deception, that love isn't always enough, that trust has to be earned and can be destroyed. My mom visited last month. We had dinner, and she asked the question mothers always ask, "Are you happy, honey?" I considered it carefully before answering. Yeah, Mom, I am. Not the same kind of happy I was before when I thought I had everything figured out, but a deeper kind of happy. The kind that comes from knowing yourself, from surviving something hard, from building a life on truth instead of illusions. She smiled, squeezed my hand. That's all I wanted to hear. We talked about Jessica some. Mom had loved her, thought she was perfect for me. Finding out about the betrayal had shocked her. I never saw it coming, Mom said. She seemed so devoted to you. She was good at pretending, I said. Or maybe part of her really did love me in her own way. Just not enough to be faithful. What you did at that party? Mom started carefully. I won't lie, it was hard to watch when the video went viral. My son, exposing his pain in front of hundreds of people. It broke my heart. I'm sorry you had to see that. Don't apologize. I understand why you did it. Your father. She paused, getting emotional. Your father always taught you to stand up for yourself, to not let people walk over you. He would have understood what you did. He might have even been proud. That got me. My dad had been my hero, the man I measure myself against. Hearing that he might have approved of my actions, that he would have understood the need for public accountability, meant more to me than I expected. I taught her that I wouldn't challenge her inconsistent stories. I taught her that my trust was easy to maintain because I didn't require honesty, just the appearance of honesty. Never again. Now I teach people that I have boundaries, that I notice red flags, that dishonesty won't be tolerated. And the right people, the good people, respect that. The wrong people reveal themselves quickly and remove themselves from my life. Either way, I win. Looking back on everything, would I change how I handled it? Maybe some of the details. Maybe I'd have been less dramatic at the party, more controlled, more measured. Maybe I'd have found a way to expose the truth that didn't go quite as viral, didn't quite as public. But the core of what I did, refusing to stay silent, demanding accountability, making sure Jessica faced consequences for her actions. No, I wouldn't change that. That was necessary. For me, for my healing, for my sense of justice. And Jessica? I genuinely hope she's doing better. I hope she learned from what happened. I hope she's in therapy, working on her issues, becoming a more honest person. I don't wish continued suffering on her. What I did at that party was about creating immediate consequences and preventing her from controlling the narrative. It wasn't about punishing her forever. She served her time, so to speak. She lost her job. Her reputation took a hit. She had to move and start over. Those were proportional consequences to her actions. Now it's time for her to rebuild and hopefully become better. As for Derek, I don't think about him much anymore. He was a catalyst, not the cause. The cause was Jessica's character, her choices, her willingness to betray someone who loved her. Derek just happened to be the person she chose to do it with. If it wasn't him, it probably would have been someone else eventually. People who are capable of that level of deception don't usually do it just once with just one person. It's a pattern, a character flaw that manifests again and again until they do the work to change it. The person I think about most is actually me. The old me, the one who existed before all this. That Ryan was naive in some ways, but also more open, more trusting, more willing to see the best in people. I miss that about him sometimes. The current version of me is wiser, but also more guarded. I've gained a lot, but I've lost something too. That innocence, that ability to trust completely without reservation. It's gone, and it's probably not coming back. But maybe that's okay. Maybe part of growing up, part of experiencing life, is losing that naive trust and replacing it with something more durable. Informed trust. Trust that's earned and maintained, not given freely and maintained through willful ignorance. The old Ryan would have ignored the red flags with Jessica because he trusted blindly. The new Ryan pays attention, asks questions, and trusts carefully. Which version is better? I don't know, but I know which version is more likely to avoid getting hurt like that again. I've started journaling recently. Another suggestion for Dr. Chun. Writing down my thoughts and feelings, processing everything on paper. It's been helpful. One entry I wrote a few weeks ago really captured where I'm at now. I wrote, I used to think being in love meant trusting someone completely, giving them access to all of you, believing the best in them even when facts suggested otherwise. Now I understand that real love requires honesty first, trust second, and blind faith never. Real love can handle questions. Real love welcomes transparency. Real love doesn't require you to ignore your instincts. That's what I'm looking for now. Not the fairy tale romance where everything is perfect and love conquers all, but the real, messy, honest kind of love where both people show up authentically, communicate openly, and choose each other every day. Not because they have to, not because they're trapped by circumstances or history, but because they genuinely want to. Sarah, the woman I've been dating, she gets that. We had a conversation last week where she said, I know you've been hurt before, and I know that makes you cautious. But I want you to know that I'm an open book. You can ask me anything, check my phone if you need to, meet my friends and family, whatever makes you feel secure. I don't have anything to hide, and I don't want you spending energy wondering or worrying. That level of transparency, that willingness to be fully known, that's what I need now. And the fact that she understands that without me having to explain or justify, it means she might be someone special. But I'm not rushing anything. I'm taking my time, paying attention, making sure that what I'm seeing is real and not just what I want to see. I've learned that lesson. I've paid that tuition. I'm not eager to repeat the course. As I finish this reflection, sitting here with my coffee getting cold and the morning sun streaming through my windows, I feel peaceful. Not happy in the carefree way I was before Jessica, but content in a deeper way. Content with who I am, what I stand for, how I handle adversity. Content with my choice to expose the truth, even though it was messy and controversial. Content with the life I'm building, brick by brick, on a foundation of honesty and self-respect. If you've listened to this whole story, thank you. I hope you never have to go through what I went through. I hope your relationships are honest and faithful and everything you deserve. But if you do find yourself betrayed, if you do discover that someone you loved has been lying to you, I hope you remember this. You deserve better. The truth matters. Consequences are appropriate, and you get to decide how to handle it in whatever way brings you peace. Don't let anyone shame you for your response to betrayal. Don't let anyone tell you to take the high road if the high road doesn't feel like justice to you. Don't let anyone prioritize your betrayer's comfort over your healing. Do what you need to do to move forward with integrity and self-respect intact. And know this, you will survive. It might not feel like it in the moment. The pain might feel unbearable. The betrayal might feel insurmountable. The future might feel impossible. But you will survive. You will heal. You will rebuild. You will find joy again. Maybe not the same innocent joy you had before, but a richer, deeper joy that comes from truly knowing yourself and what you're capable of surviving. My girlfriend lied for months. She betrayed me in the deepest way possible. She was planning to leave me on her terms, with her narrative, making me the problem. I found out, and I taught her a lesson she'll never forget. Not through violence, not through destruction, but through truth. Through consequences. Through making sure everyone knew exactly what happened, so she couldn't rewrite history. Was it harsh? Yes. Was it perfect? No. Was it necessary? For me, absolutely. And I'd do it again. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. And I needed to look at myself in the mirror and know that I stood up for myself, that I didn't let betrayal go unanswered, that I demanded accountability even when it was messy and uncomfortable. I needed to know that I have a spine, that I have boundaries, that I have self-respect. And now I know. I do. That's my story. That's my lesson. That's my truth. And I'm at peace with all of it.